Have you ever sat in a cafe, listening to people around you chatting in English, and felt like the words were flying past you too quickly? You catch a few phrases, maybe how's work, or that movie was great, but then you lose track. It's like trying to hold on to sand with your fingers, most of it just slips away. And the frustrating part is, you've been studying English for months, maybe even years, but real conversations still feel out of reach. If that sounds familiar, I want to share something with you that could completely change how you see English learning. You don't need to know every single English word in existence to have meaningful conversations. In fact, research shows that if you know around 3,000 of the most common words, you can already understand about 95% of what people say in daily life. Think about that for a moment. 95%. That means if you focus your energy on the right 3,000 words, you can walk into a store, order food, make small talk, follow a YouTube video, or chat with a coworker, all without constantly getting lost or confused. Doesn't that sound a lot more doable than memorizing endless lists of random vocabulary? I know that for many learners, vocabulary feels like an impossible mountain to climb. You open a dictionary and there are hundreds of thousands of words. You download an app and suddenly you're being asked to remember photosynthesis or anti-disestablishmentarianism when all you really want to do is understand a TV show without subtitles. This is why so many people quit, not because English is impossible, but because they're climbing the wrong mountain. They're spending time on words they don't need, while ignoring the ones that actually open the door to real communication. Here's the good news: the 3,000 words you truly need are everywhere. They're in the songs you listen to, the series you binge watch, the podcasts you follow, even in the everyday conversations between native speakers. The trick isn't just to know these words exist, the trick is to focus on them intentionally, to make them part of your life, and to use them often enough that they become second nature. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're watching a show and someone says, "I'll grab a bite before heading to work." Now, if you know the word grab, the word bite, and the phrase before work, you instantly get it: they're going to eat something. You don't need to know complicated terms like nutritional intake or gastronomy. You just need those simple, high-frequency words. And because these words show up again and again, every time you hear them, you'll understand more and more of the sentence. Suddenly, you're not drowning in English anymore, you're floating, and even swimming. Now let's think about why this works. Human communication is built on patterns, not on rare or fancy words. If you're talking with a friend, you don't say, "I consumed a carbonated beverage yesterday." You just say, "I had a soda yesterday." That's why focusing on high-frequency vocabulary isn't just smart, it's essential. It means you're learning the words people actually use, not the ones that only show up on exams or in textbooks. So, how do you actually learn these 3,000 words without feeling overwhelmed? The first thing is to shift your mindset. Stop worrying about perfection or about knowing every obscure word. Think about vocabulary as a toolkit. You don't need every tool in the world, you just need the right ones to fix most problems. A carpenter doesn't carry around 10,000 tools every day. He carries the essentials. The same is true for you as an English learner. If you carry the 3,000 most useful words, you can build almost any conversation you need. The second thing is exposure. You can't just memorize a list once and expect it to stick. You need to meet these words in different situations, over and over, until they feel natural. This is why graded readers, simple English stories, or even children's shows are so powerful. They're designed with those high-frequency words in mind. And when you read or listen to them consistently, you're training your brain to recognize patterns, not just individual words. Think of it like music. If you listen to a song only once, you might remember the chorus but forget the verses. But if you play it every day, suddenly the lyrics are stuck in your head. The same happens with vocabulary. The more you hear and use these words, the more automatic they become. One day, someone says a sentence with a word like probably or guess or already, and you don't even need to think, you just understand it instantly. Another important thing is to use the words actively. Don't just recognize them, make them part of your daily conversations. Let's say one of the common words is decide. Instead of saying, I don't know what to do, try saying, I can't decide. Instead of saying, I will choose later, say, I'll decide later. This might feel like a small change, but every time you do it, you're reinforcing the vocabulary in your brain. You're teaching yourself to think in English, not just translate. And here's something that surprises a lot of learners: you don't even need to know all 3,000 words before you feel the difference. Even the first 500 will already open up huge parts of English. Imagine being able to understand basic conversations, read menus, watch simple videos, and actually respond confidently, all with just the first chunk of core vocabulary. It's like unlocking the first level in a game. You don't need the final weapon to start playing, you just need the basics to get moving. I want you to pause for a moment and picture this: you're at an airport, ordering coffee in English. The cashier smiles, asks, "What can I get you today?" You answer without hesitating, using those simple, common words. You pay, thank them, and walk away with your drink. No panic. No embarrassment. Just a normal, smooth interaction. That's the power of knowing the right words. That's what 3,000 core vocabulary words can do for you. And this isn't just about practical situations. It's also about confidence. Every time you understand a little more, every time you successfully join a conversation, you feel a spark of motivation. That spark grows into fire. You begin to believe, I can do this. English is not out of reach for me. That belief is just as important as the words themselves, because it's what keeps you going when learning feels tough. So, as we move forward, I want you to remember one thing: English doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need 10 years of study, you don't need perfect grammar, and you definitely don't need a dictionary in your pocket at all times. What you need is focus. Focus on the words that matter, the ones you'll hear and use every single day. Once you shift your attention there, everything else becomes so much easier. When you start to focus on these core words, something interesting happens. You realize that English isn't this impossible code with endless hidden rules. It's actually more like a puzzle, and the more pieces you put in place, the clearer the picture becomes. At first, maybe you only recognize a few edges of the puzzle, but slowly, piece by piece, you see the whole image. And the best part is, you don't need every piece to understand what's going on. Even with most of the picture filled, your brain can guess the rest. That's how language works. It's not about knowing everything, it's about knowing enough to connect the dots. Now, here's where many learners make another mistake: they try to learn words in isolation. They sit down with a list and repeat them like robots: run, jump, happy, difficult. The problem is, real life doesn't give you words in isolation. Nobody comes up to you on the street and just says, complicated, and walks away. Words live inside sentences. They carry meaning when they're connected to each other. That's why, if you really want those 3,000 words to work for you, you need to learn them in context. Think about the word run. On its own, you know it's about moving fast with your legs. But in conversation, run shows up in all kinds of ways. Someone might say, I run every morning. Easy. Then you hear, I'm running late. Totally different meaning. Or, she runs a business. Now it has nothing to do with legs at all. If you only memorized run equals move fast, you'd be lost. But if you learn the word inside real sentences, you understand the flexibility, and suddenly that one word opens the door to a whole range of situations. This is why stories, dialogues, and even TV shows are such powerful tools. They don't just throw vocabulary at you, they show you how it's used, how it sounds, and what it means in different situations. And every time you hear those words in action, you're building deeper connections in your brain. You're not just memorizing, you're living the language. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine was learning English and obsessed over the word actually. He saw it everywhere but couldn't figure out why people used it so often. He thought it only meant in reality. But then he started paying attention in movies. He heard characters say things like, "Actually, I'm not hungry," or "Actually, that's not what I meant." Suddenly it clicked, actually wasn't just about reality, it was a softener, a polite way to correct someone or add information. That tiny realization changed how he spoke. He stopped sounding like a textbook and started sounding natural. That's the magic of learning in context. But here's another secret, you don't need to study context in a boring way. You can create it naturally by connecting words to your own life. Let's say you learn the word decide. Don't just memorize it. Think of a moment you had to decide something today. Did you decide what to wear? Did you decide whether to eat breakfast at home or outside? Say it out loud, I decided to wear my blue shirt. I decided to stay home. Now the word isn't just on a flashcard. It's part of your story. And when words connect to your story, they stick. Another powerful approach is noticing patterns. Have you ever realized that a small group of words shows up everywhere in English? Words like get, make, take, go, and come appear constantly, often with small changes that create different meanings. Get up, get along, get ready. At first, it seems confusing, but once you train your brain to recognize the pattern, it becomes exciting. You suddenly notice, wait, this one word gives me access to 20 different expressions. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel like you've discovered a shortcut. And here's the thing, English is full of these shortcuts. Native speakers rely on them because they make communication faster and smoother. You don't need fancy vocabulary when you can say, make a mistake or take a break. And once you understand these phrases, conversations that used to feel impossible suddenly become clear. It's like turning on subtitles in your brain. Now, let's talk about listening. Because understanding those 3,000 words isn't only about recognizing them on paper, it's about catching them in real time, when people speak quickly, with different accents, with background noise, or when they blend words together. Have you ever noticed how "what do you want to eat" turns into "what do you want to eat?" Or how "I don't know" becomes "I dunno"? That's real spoken English. And if you only know vocabulary from textbooks, you'll miss it. This is why practicing with real voices matters so much. Podcasts, YouTube videos, even music, they train your ear to hear those high-frequency words in their natural habitat. At first, it feels impossible. People talk too fast. But then, something changes. You start to catch the small words first, the and, but, already. Then, the verbs, go, get, want. And little by little, whole sentences open up. It's like adjusting your eyes to the dark. Slowly, shapes turn into clear objects. And don't be afraid of not understanding everything. In fact, that's normal. Even native speakers miss words sometimes, especially in noisy environments. What matters is getting the main idea. If you know 95% of the words, your brain can guess the missing 5%. It's like watching a movie with a tiny hole in the screen, you can still follow the story. Something else I want to highlight is repetition. Repetition isn't boring if you see it the right way. Think of your favorite movie or song. You've watched or listened to it many times, and each time you notice something new, a joke, a detail in the background, a line you didn't catch before. Language works exactly like that. The more times you hear the same word in different situations, the deeper it sticks. The first time you might just notice it. The second time you understand it. The third time you're ready to use it yourself. And remember, you don't have to practice in silence with a book. You can make repetition fun. Rewatch an episode of your favorite show. Sing along to a song. Listen to a podcast again while you're cooking or walking. Each time, you're training your brain to recognize those common words faster. And faster recognition means smoother understanding. Finally, let's talk about confidence. Because here's the truth, knowing 3,000 words won't help you if you're too afraid to use them. Many learners stay quiet because they're scared of making mistakes. But think about this, mistakes are not the opposite of learning. They are the path to learning. Every time you try, even if you mess up, you're building courage, you're reinforcing vocabulary, and you're teaching your brain to respond quicker next time. Imagine you're at a party, and someone asks you, "What do you do?" You could panic and freeze, or you could take a breath and use your core words, "I work in a store," or "I'm a student." Simple. Clear. Correct. And the person understands you. That tiny success builds confidence. And the more confident you feel, the more you'll practice. And the more you practice, the stronger your vocabulary becomes. It's a beautiful cycle. So, don't wait until you're ready to use English. Use it now, even if you only know a few hundred words. Those words are powerful. They open doors. They connect you with people. And with every conversation, you'll discover just how much you already know, and how much more you're capable of. Here's the thing that surprises most learners, 3,000 words may sound small, but in practice, it feels huge. When you start using them every day, you realize just how powerful they are. They give you freedom. You can talk about your job, your family, your hobbies, your dreams. You can order food, ask for directions, make friends, and even share your opinions on deep topics. Suddenly, English stops being a subject you study and becomes a tool you live with. And once you experience that freedom, you don't want to go back. You stop worrying about perfection, and you start enjoying the conversations themselves. That's when the real growth happens. Because learning a language isn't about memorizing grammar rules or passing a test. It's about connection. It's about walking into a room and feeling like you belong, even if you make a few mistakes along the way. Now, I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself 6 months from now. You've practiced a little every day. You've focused on those core 3,000 words. You've listened to them, read them, spoken them, lived them. You walk into a cafe, and the barista asks you what you'd like. Without even thinking, the words flow. "Can I get a latte, please?" You pay, you smile, you sit down, and you realize, you just had a real conversation in English, and it felt natural. That moment of confidence is waiting for you. And it all starts with focusing on what matters most. Here's another important truth, you don't need to rush. Language is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Some days you'll feel amazing, like everything is clicking. Other days, you'll feel stuck, frustrated, or even hopeless. That's normal. Everyone experiences it. The secret is to keep going anyway. A little progress every day adds up to massive change over time. Think of it like drops of water filling a jar. One drop seems small, but after weeks and months, the jar is full. And don't forget, you already have an advantage, you're not starting from zero. If you're watching this video, you already know more English than you think. You understand me right now. That means you've already collected hundreds, maybe even thousands, of words. You're closer to that 3,000 than you realize. You're not climbing a mountain from the bottom, you're already halfway up. All you need to do is keep climbing, step by step. Another thing I want to encourage you with is this: celebrate the small wins. Too often, learners focus only on what they don't know. They think, I can't understand the news, or I can't read a novel yet. But what about what you can do? Maybe you understood a joke in English today. Maybe you watched a movie and caught more than you did last month. Maybe you introduced yourself confidently to a stranger. These moments matter. They're proof that you're growing. And if you celebrate them, you'll stay motivated for the long run. Something else that makes a huge difference is community. Learning alone is hard. But when you share your journey with others, it becomes exciting. Join an online group, comment on videos, talk to friends who are also learning. Don't hide your English, use it. Even if it feels uncomfortable at first, remember, nobody learned perfectly in silence. The more you put yourself out there, the faster your progress will be. And every time someone understands you, it's another reminder that your effort is paying off. Let's be honest, there will always be more words to learn. English has hundreds of thousands of them, and new ones are added all the time. But here's the beautiful truth: you don't need to know them all. You only need enough to live, to connect, to share your ideas. And once you master the essentials, the rest comes naturally. You'll pick up new words as you go, without even realizing it, because you'll already be using English in real life. So, if you've ever doubted yourself, if you've ever thought, maybe English just isn't for me, I want you to remember this: you are capable. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need perfect memory. You only need consistency, patience, and the courage to keep going. 3,000 words are not a dream. They are within your reach, and they can change your life. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one last thought. Language is more than words. It's a bridge between people, cultures, and ideas. When you learn English, you're not just collecting vocabulary, you're opening doors to new opportunities, friendships, and experiences that you might never have imagined. Every word you learn is another brick in that bridge. And soon, that bridge will take you to places you've always wanted to go. So, keep practicing, keep believing, and keep moving forward. And if this video inspired you, I'd love to hear your story. Tell me in the comments how you're learning, what challenges you've faced, or even just one new word you discovered today. Share your journey, because you never know, your story might encourage someone else who's struggling right now. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want more tips and motivation for your English journey. Together, we're building a community of learners who refuse to give up, who know that every small step counts, and who believe in their power to grow. Here's to your success, your confidence, and your future in English. You've got this. And I can't wait to see where your words will take you.